Hello, 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 hello. Long time no see, I know, but thank you so much for joining us this evening. I have a great guest coming on this evening, a good friend, fellow actor of mine who I acted with in a movie called Right Before Your Eyes, which was an incredible fun time shooting that. He's out in a new movie called St. Michael of the City, co-starring Kevin Interdonato as well. These cats, especially Kevin and Adam, work constantly. These guys are always working here in the New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia metro area, but they've also been in other bigger films and stuff outside of this area. So it's going to be great having Adam on the show here. He's when I get him on here, we'll talk about his resume, but it's huge. You definitely will see him and be like, I think I've seen him somewhere. And most likely you did. Wow. A lot going on since we last spoke. Went on the View Askew cruise askew, from Miami to the Bahamas with a whole bunch of us. That was a lot of fun. I'm going to do a show about that, reminiscent about that. Coming up in the future episode. Also, while we were on that cruise, we did a live version of the O'HalloRANT with the one and only Jeff Anderson. That's right. Jeff Anderson actually did a podcast of some sort. So I have the audio from that. So we should be able to play that as well in another episode. And we also me and Diane went out to AlaskaCon in Fairbanks, Alaska in February, where we experienced minus 55 degrees. It's definitely something I'll never forget. And my fingers and toes will never forget. But it was a wonderful show nonetheless. Big loss, unfortunately, today when we woke up. We lost the only Louis Gossett Jr. Everybody's talking about Officer and a Gentleman and Roots and many other movies he's done. I always remembered him from Enemy Mine. That was, I think that's really acting, when you're acting in a alien type of way. And he had that type of dialect that he did. So big loss in the community with Louis Gossett Jr. Rest in power, sir. You were always a phenomenal actor, an amazing teacher from what I heard from people as well. So I'd like to give some shout outs to some of the regulars here. Good to see you, Mr. Daniel Buckley, Ian Bonner, CJ Robles, Mark Lamb, Chantel Steele, Jack Endino, Milieu. Good to see you as well. Cryptid Coach. Good to see you. Hey, David, Vincent, Bob. Good to see you as well. Writer, director of the aforementioned Right Before Your Eyes. So a lot of things going on in the world in general. My condolences to the families of the workers who are on the bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge that was horribly taken down by the errand ship. I was shooting a film just recently, earlier in the week, not only an hour and a half from that area, in the suburbs of Delco, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, for a movie called Delco the Movie. Independent film, Screen Actors Guild signatory film by a really great filmmaker, and had a great time with them. We're going to get more into that as well. I'll have them on a future show once we have more of the film put together and promoting that. But our friend that we're coming on here tonight with, he's been doing this for a very long time. We've known each other since David Vincent Bob's film, but we've seen each other before in other things. We've both been involved in movies that have been shot in the Philadelphia area, especially. So I know he's in a rush, and I want to get to talking to him anyway. So let me bring to the show tonight. Everybody, give a warm welcome to the one, the only, Adam Ratcliffe. Adam, how you doing, brother? Oh, I think he just hung up on me. He's like, forget this. When you get a chance, Adam, come on back. He's back.
I'm back.
Yeah, there you go. You just turned off your camera for a second. So welcome, man. Congratulations. You're fresh off the Garden State Film Festival, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, we had our audience for the first time.
How was this your first time at the Garden State Film Festival?
Yes, it was my first time in my hero's. Well, it's not his hometown, but it was my first time in Asbury Park. So I was like a kid. It's hurry up and see everything, and unfortunately, it was a little cold, but I did eat right there on Asbury Avenue, and
nice.
I did explore just the hour and a half that I got to some Italian food. Born to Run was just blazing through my cranium, and I was trying really hard not to be socially awkward because it is I'm the biggest Bruce Springsteen fan, and you know the story. Van Zandt was from that area. Bruce is not.
Right.
But he became Bruce in Asbury Park.
Did you get a chance to get into the Stone Pony while you were there?
I didn't have any time. First of all, it was freezing cold, David. Like it was unbearably cold. And again, I'm not very socially adept at these events, so it was like, you can't show up fashionably late when you're actually supposed to be shaking hands with people who are coming from 2 hours away to, give you props. So, no, I didn't have much time.
Did you guys have one screening or two screenings of the movie?
We just had one. I guess you could say we're the headliner. The last 2 weeks have been incredible because I am a middle-aged stay-at-home dad most of the time. I teach Zoom acting classes, and have since the beginning of COVID. I've been very blessed with that. Technology has saved me, kept me afloat, on top of the acting work that I've been getting in the last 3 years. But I'm constantly, when you see me, anytime I'm being social on the internet, it's in between cooking for my wife and my son and being domesticated, which 20 years ago this Adam did not exist. So when I go to an event that's at 9 o'clock at night, 2 hours away, you better believe we're getting a hotel.
Right. Well, you're evolving. That's all. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with cooking home cooked meals. Nothing about taking care of family. You're a good man in an industry that's tough to do in, to be honest with you, and we know it. And speaking of an industry, I mean, you've worked with so many different shows, different outlets. You've been on The Blacklist, Blue Bloods, Crashing, Gotham. You've been in a lot of stupidly major movies, and you continue. You are the epitome of what a working actor, day in and day out, hustling to get into things. To audition for these, you get the 80% no's or whatever, but you're getting into these great projects. And these projects, when especially because it's through the union, you're getting your health benefits from, you're building the money that you can so that your credentials get higher and things of that nature. What is it that brought you into acting?
Well, I'm a singer, and I want to say songwriter. It's because it sounds cool, but I've written 4 songs. Lightning struck my brain. As So, but anyway, I did start singing as a kid, and my grandfather was an artiste. He was from Canada, and he happened to meet my grandmother in New York City. She was a model. She was Canada's top model at 18, and they were just these two kind of zany, artsy, extremely intelligent alcoholics, but very talented. And he kind of nurtured me. He would come and go. It is a very quintessential actor's journey because I was the youngest of four, and my mom and dad split when I was four. And this man, my grandfather, kind of influenced me in the singing. And he was a performer. Like he had voice instructions in his life. He was a boxer in his life. He made money on off Broadway shows. So there was kind of that element of that. But I was an athlete first and foremost. I actually graduated. And by the way, my phone is charged, so we have time. I know I told you I didn't. But the long and the short is I was an athlete first, and I did some like little elementary school plays where you're, playing Barnum and Bailey and handing out hot roasted peanuts and just being cute with the makeup on and getting made fun of by your big brothers in elementary school. But when I got to seventh grade, I was already the captain of the ninth grade football team because I literally stopped growing in seventh grade. So I was 165 pounds, 5'10".
Wow.
And yeah, so everybody thought I was going to be this 6'4" NFL football player, which was my dream. And but the truth of the matter was, Bye Bye Birdie was coming through my junior high school, and my principal knew that I was athletic and sang. And the guy didn't have that many lines. I know you know the play. So it was just like, get this guy to audition. If he shows up at the audition, maybe we got something with him in the gold suit, right? And that was it. I mean, that was literally when the euphoria of performing for a live audience that was really into it, I discovered something in addition to sports that augmented how I felt about myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For those who don't know the musical, the role he's talking about is a character who's supposed to be Elvis-like, who comes to the town and performs. So I could see you definitely doing that. I did that show, I think, in junior year of high school as well. So it's a fun musical overall.
Yeah.
So then do you go to college, go to university to study, or?
Well, I got a football scholarship, a partial scholarship. I was a 4-year starter in my high school. It's a very big, accomplished place. We have 4 coaches in the NFL, so my area is very known for the arts and for sport. And so it was just this nudging of like, who do I really want to be? You get to freshman year of college and you're still 5'10", and you're trying to keep the weight on to keep up with these 6'5" guys. And to be clear, like I was becoming more of an artist because of extracurricular activities, watching Clerks and the like.
Hey, don't be putting the blame on.
At the end of the day, it was a very interesting time. It was the 90s. Rage Against the Machine was all the rage. And I went to my first, I'm not going to put it at your feet, the Grateful Dead. I went to the Further Fest, which was the first concert I ever went to at 20 years old. And I discovered them, Sublime, and I became kind of hippified. And so I was starting to really kind of evolve into an intellectual who was inclined to play sports, but really wanted to do the arts.
Right.
And so I went to another college, played football there too at a private school. So I was just kind of having an identity crisis, wound up playing rugby at the Division I rugby school, IUP, out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who just won the national championship. Shout out to my college.
Congratulations.
Last semester. So I kind of found myself at this university, and I played rugby recreationally in high school, and it was big. We took second in the country, and both of our high schools kind of combined because it was a club sport. But here it was big. We were playing Penn State, Navy, Virginia Tech, all the Big Ten schools. And we were this literally Bad News Bears of Indiana, Pennsylvania, Jimmy Stewart's hometown. And we would drive to Virginia Tech 4 hours, get out, play, go home with broken noses, and literally with no insurance, go to the hospital if we had to. But it was the best time of my life, and I kind of found myself. And what I did was I became a theater major. And So the the dream kind of evolved into, I'm now sober because of circumstances. I was still a freshman, almost 22 years old at that college,
Right.
and I was afraid to design sets and really delve into it. And I really liked film, so I became a communications major. So after college, the last thing I had to do was work at NBC 10 in Philadelphia. Shout out to the fourth biggest market in the country. And when I got there, I met a man whose daughter was on Broadway, and he told me, "Don't move to Los Angeles. I will take you to New York City to see my daughter Addison as baby Louise and Gypsy." And never been to New York before in that capacity. I, went on a fifth grade trip, but this was the first time really exploring the Big Apple. And up until that point, I was working at a car wash and logging highlights for the Phillies. And I sat right behind Jack Nicholson, right there on 49th and Broadway at this Broadway show. And I was hooked on New York City from that moment on. Now, the father happened to be in Vincent D'Onofrio's acting class. So that was kind of the first time where, the identity crisis came full circle, and I found myself and I found that, I can land in good situations, and I needed to go where the love was. And I went to that class, and Vincent and I hit it off, and he broke me down. Before that, I was a theater actor, and he broke me down into a film and TV actor, and told me to be vulnerable, and made fun of me and called me Matthew McConaughey when I was being too arrogant. Because he
Nice.
did a movie. He did a movie called The Newton Boys with Matthew McConaughey. And Vincent's a tough guy, man. He really understands people. And me teaching last semester at Rider University and being 22 when I met him, and seeing some of these students who are extremely intelligent, way more intelligent than me, I realized what he was going through teaching me at the time, because I felt like I had lived life. And if I could give a lesson to anybody that's watching, that's getting into, give people like Brian O'HalloRANT and Vincent D'Onofrio that have the tenure, you give them their props, and you listen. And even when you think, hell, I've been through some stuff myself, right? It takes, the New York Minute takes 15, 20 years, and that's me now, you
Yeah.
know? And, I'm just happy to be here, Brian. I'm pontificating now. I apologize.
No, you're not. But I mean, people want to realize that it's not so easy to get into the industry, but also how many years and how many people in supporting your art gave you a hand up, gave you a push forward, gave you a kind of a warning about other things at the same time. And it's those lessons, if you listen to them, they're like road signs. If you're going to pay attention to the speed limit, you're never going to get a ticket. If you're going to pay attention that this, like your GPS tells you, you take this route, it's going to take you 3 times as longer. If you listen to the guidance that you're getting from people, and I think people come into your life and out of your life, giving you messages to let you go on and move into a path that should be better for you. And sometimes people can lead you down the road that's not so great. But that's the lives that we live. That's the choices we make, get you to where you're going. But you know that you don't give up. You don't let certain setbacks stop you. You keep going. So speaking of going, this new movie that you have, the Saint Michael of the City, and I see the Trenton Makes the World Takes bridge. Tell us a little bit about this. I also can play the trailer if you want me to play that first, and then we could talk on the other side of it. That's up to you.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Sure. So why don't I do that? Let me get this set up. First of all, how did the story come about? Let's start that while I set this up.
Well, so you know that I was doing, in your audience, I should explain, I was doing a documentary. I pretty much partnered up with somebody that was Tom Sizemore's manager for many years. He was keen on resurrecting people, troubled actors like Tom Sizemore, and he kind of got Tom. He poached him right from Celebrity Rehab. He was a cop in London. The man who I'm discussing is my partner, and so I raised a bunch of capital during COVID to do a documentary on Tom Sizemore. And because I had done a film with Tom, I was pitching him a screenplay that I wrote, and it just wasn't coming to fruition. And I'm still trying like heck They say throw it up against the wall and see what sticks. It hasn't stuck yet. Everything else kind of keeps coming before it. But it
Listen,
will.
I always tell people about that when they're trying to get a thing produced. Forrest Gump circled Hollywood for 10 years before Zemeckis picked it up. So
Working on 10 years right now. So God willing, this is the moment. But so I was pitching this script. His partner loved it. Tom was not well. When I met him, I gave him what's called a pay or play, because I did a campaign, raised 20 grand. And I said, you're perfect for this part in my film. And we kind of struck a friendship. And he's a blue collar guy from Detroit. Actually went to Temple for his master's degree in theater. And he's just one of those actors that that went on his first 3 auditions and just was like a duck in water. He was a super smart guy. One of his first auditions was Born on the 4th of July, Oliver Stone film, and he got it. And Tom was not a dummy. He was a brilliant person. His father was a professor at Harvard. So it was a good documentary. It came about because COVID had these documentaries that were all the rage. And my partner said at the time, I just watched this documentary on Gilbert Gottfried. Wow, was it revealing. I didn't like him before, and now I find him to be a truly endearing human. And I think we should do that with Tom. And what do you think? I said, listen, I've raised money before. I think it's a great idea. Let's try it. Put a finance package together, and lo and behold, lightning struck. I raised money from a friend that I played rugby with in college.
nice.
And one thing led to another, and I put almost 200 grand together for this film, and it kind of circled my inner circle. And Kevin, because he knew Tom, had a screenplay and said, hey man, why don't you try reading this and see what you can do with it? And I said, listen, I don't know if I got lucky. I don't know if this was just, again, a fortuitous moment in my life, but I'll read it and see what happens. And lo and behold, I read it in one night because it was so easy to read. It was so succinctly linear and poignant in the way that he described the characters. And it's very much like State of Grace meets The Town. Kevin is not fluff. Kevin is straight to the point. And I know
no.
you know.
No, I've worked with them. So let me show them the trailer, and then we'll come back on the other side of it and talk more.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. Everybody enjoy the trailer of St. Michael in the City. I believe I'm hearing that there's no sound, if I'm correct. Let me see that. Yeah, no audio. All right. While I'm fixing that, how in general, how has it been working? First of all, I've worked with Kevin Interdonato on his movie Bad Frank. Another very intense kind of not mob related, but there is underworld kind of segments to it. And there's something about Kevin, and he's always intense. He is one of the most intense actors that I've ever met. He writes these roles for him. He knows his strength as an actor. He knows the storylines that he's absolutely perfect for. How did you find working with Kevin?
Well, you were the one. It was like a self-fulfilling prophecy that you created, because you were the very first person after we did Right Before Your Eyes that said your next project, when you finally get it off, you should work with this guy Kevin Interdonato. It would be like the movie Heat, which is super weird because obviously I just discussed Heat during COVID with Tom.
Right.
Man, he did an impeccable De Niro, by the way. Sidebar,
I
you'll
bet.
see that. So Kevin, my story with Kevin Interdonato is fascinating because I met him in Midtown, auditioned for a screenplay that he wrote again called Blue Collar Boys,
Okay.
and my agent got me the part, and I met him, and literally the first time I laid eyes on him, mind you, it was 2008. Kevin's ahead of the curve. I've been described as being ahead of the curve as well. I had my shirt off on the internet way before it was cool, by the way, and when I looked better at the time, pre dad bod. So anyway, Kevin walks in. He's got this hat to the side, like total flat brim hat. You know those things that are flat brimmed, and then
Absolutely.
it said "Dirty Jers" on his shirt, and he looked like something from Mean Streets meets Streets of Fire. Like, and his eyes just had this intensity about him. I didn't know he was a wrestler, but I did know, like, animals. John Patrick Shanley, I did a monologue for Vince. Animals know when they're amongst animals. Animals know when they're amongst their own. That's what it felt like with him. And and then I met his brother. I did a read, and it was like the House of Mirrors. It was awesome experience, and I got a call back about a month later, and I drove to Red Bank, New Jersey. Now, this is after I moved back from Los Angeles, so I had no money left. I sold my car to get back home to buy another piece of junk car to do the East Coast grind back and forth to New York City from Philly. So I'm driving there, no heat, with no heat in the van in March. And I drive to Red Bank. I do this call back. I'm thinking I got it. And Kevin and I are improving a son father scene. And I screwed it up, and I lost all the money for the family carpentry business. And he's looking at me with these eyes. He's got these huge expressive eyes, and just like looks like a bulldog, and with electricity in his veins. And I was intimidated, and that very rarely happens because my brother looks like Stone Cold and beat the crap out of me my whole life. And but as an actor, for the first time in a callback, I was actually intimidated with another actor in the room because when I get scared that there's a fight about to happen, that's when I get like my heart starts to palpitate because I don't back down in fights. And Kevin's
Right.
not someone I want to fight. So it was like one of those acting moments. It was like, this is too real for me. And I didn't get the part, but he told my agent it was just because I didn't look like a family member. Lo and behold, I stay friends with him. That's another lesson to young actors. Don't take it personally. I was disappointed because the movie did really well, kind of put Kevin on the map as an independent filmmaker. And 10 years later, we made a movie together.
Yeah, he's an incredible writer. He's an incredible actor. He knows what he wants in his projects. I know Bastard Sons was his last film that came out, I think, a year ago or a year and a half ago. And that's another thing. He's really good at churning out movies. Like he's really good at taking money that he's made from one project, reinvesting it into the production company, finding more people to invest and do even more and more. And then when people look for resume, you know, his resume of what he's done, and you see it's wonderfully shot. It's wonderfully, you know, it's the feel of it is so nice and gritty. I'm going to try to attempt this one more. I'm going to check the chat to see if the sound is finally coming through. So let me try to play this one more time for you, and just give me 1 second here. Here we go. Let's try this again. Take two. All right. I don't know. I don't know why I can hear it here, but I can't get it through out to you guys. So let me see if there's anything in the audio that I can change. Let's see here. Mhm. Check. Okay. I apologize. I will put the link to the trailer. But in watching it, um, we have some friends in common who we worked with. Uh, none other than Brian Anthony Wilson,
Yes. Yeah.
who some folks may have remembered if you saw the film I was a part of called Right Before Your Eyes, which Adam also starred in with Brian Anthony Wilson, myself, Corey Graham, Tony Devon, and Sean Patrick McCurdy. Written and directed by David Vincent Bob. That came out 2 years ago. As a matter of fact, I was looking back. I had you guys on the show here back in October of 2020 when we were
Wow.
promoting the release of that. Now you guys have distribution for this movie, correct?
Yes, sir. Leo Mark is our distributor. Kevin, I was going to say, but I didn't want to cut you off. He's done a heck of a lot of research. I'm trying really hard just to kind of pick his brain as to how to spawn projects from here, because I think we have something with St. Michael. You always want, you don't have a crystal ball, but you always want to put out good vibes into the atmosphere. It is a good film. It's an easy watch. It moves. It's got a love story. It's got a lot of violence that works. And Kevin, like you were saying, he does his research and he cuts out any uh, stuff anything that doesn't move the story along. And when it comes to distribution, he's actually one of the guys that will call a distributor and go the extra mile in thanking them to create more relationships. So we have a distributor right there on Balboa Avenue in Los Angeles, California, which is, again, another fortuitous sign for me because Rocky is one of my idols as a kid as well. So Asbury Park and Balboa, I think we're in the wheelhouse here. Something happening.
And that's the thing. When you get to work, I mean, some of the really big and really accomplished writers, directors, when they get to work with somebody that they enjoy working with, you start seeing them in projects all the time, like Scorsese and DiCaprio, Spike Lee with, tons of people that he loves to work with again and again. Kevin Smith obviously loves working with the same people again and again, which is, it's comforting to know. We always bring in new people as well. But when you get that circle of people that you love working with, that have the same kind of sensibilities about certain things, there becomes an unspoken language. There's less time explaining. There's all like, oh, I know what you mean. I got you. We got it. Let's do this. Let's run with it. Or even in collaboration with writing. And so that type of collaboration is always a bonus, I find, when working on a project. So how was working with director Jeff Stewart on this? I know he produced Bastard Son, so him and Kevin had known each other. How I always like to ask actors how the director was on the project.
Jeff's a pretty impressive guy. I actually brought him in and learned more about him after we shot. He actually coached up the writer students at the university, and he was 15 minutes from there. I was about an hour. So he actually took over the class, the last 3 classes at the end of the semester. And they took a loving to him, actually, because he's a very endearing human. He's extremely cerebral. And again, I hate to keep using the word succinct, but it was all of the stars aligning impeccably with a bunch of like-minded blue-collar dudes who just didn't want any if it didn't work, it didn't work. And that's the first thing you learn in a New York City, the Mecca, where people teach you, if it's extra, we don't need it. And some of it, unfortunately, that was extra were good scenes. But Jeff had an impeccable sense of what he wanted. He had charts of the scenes laid out before we did it. I never saw that before. So he was extremely organized, which I'm an artist, man. I have 3 guitars. My song book is everywhere. I'm not organized. This was something that I produced, so I needed the checkbook organized. I needed a CPA for the first time. It was extremely difficult to play the character of and in itself, in addition to playing, trying to sign everybody's contracts and sending them their paychecks. And then now I'm working with the distributor. So I'm continually learning what it is to build indie film. And I'm learning through these guys. So when I say lightning struck, I'm extremely blessed. And by the way, Brian, before I get cut off, I look up to you a lot, man. I remember seeing you at Harriet in audition, and I was also kind of starstruck. I wish I would have went over it, but then I got to work with you, so lucky me.
You know what? Eventually people, especially in the Philly, New York, Connecticut kind of acting realm, we all eventually start running into each other at different things, especially if we're similar types. If you're this, like, I remember walking into certain auditions in LA where literally it was like every type of, you know, pseudo schlubby kind of comic relief kind of guys in these things. I'm like, oh, okay, I can see where this is going. I see the type they're looking for. But I'm glad when we did start to work, we were working on such great projects together. We weren't just in one or two scenes. We were able to work together in a really great environment. That's the great thing I love about independent film. As much as everybody loves a huge budget and having your own honey wagon in Winnebago and catering of sushi and stuff, and living out of really nice hotels while shooting big projects. I always find working in independent projects, like I did just this past week, very uplifting because everybody is earnest. No one is really jaded about the making of the film. No one has got an attitude about it, like, where the hell's that kid with my latte? You know, there's none of that going on because we're all pulling the rope in the same direction, so to speak, hopefully, to get it
Yeah,
done. And that's why I love usually independent scripts are better written. They're tackling subject matters that the big studios don't want to touch or think there's not a market for. Some people, most filmmakers aren't making films for the masses. They're making films for them and hope that other people enjoy them as well. And that's when I see the sign of really great filmmakers is and producers who are making these types of films that speak of them or their own personal stories. So looking through the casts, I assumed is this Ava?
do you know Ava?
I've seen her in a bunch of other people's projects, and every time I see her, I'm like, how is she not blown up yet?
I know. She actually, we handpicked Ava. It was we had somebody, Erin. I don't want to mess her last name up, but I think it's O'Brien. But she's actually an Atlanta stunt artist that looked more like my sister. Ava plays my sister, which is cool because I do have a half Italian sister that looks like Ava, whose last name is DeLeo. So it worked. But we picked Ava, handpicked her from my agency in Midtown Manhattan that actually has since, and I think you're probably learning about this now, closed. So there's a lot of agencies that are closing.
Yep.
So I was very lucky to get such a talented young, she just had a child. Ava is a mom to Bo. Her husband Mike and her just had a baby. But
Nice.
Ava is also, it's very interesting. She's also married to a producer. And I didn't know that so there was a lot of people. One of the investors worked with Antonio Banderas before he got on set with us, and he invested quite a bit of money. And again, I believe in a higher power because I'm a sober guy and I'm here still. I didn't tell you really a lot of my story, but I'm very lucky based on a lot of my behaviors as a kid to be here. So this was a pinch me moment. That scene right there is in my hometown bar that I probably blacked out in 20,000 times called the Amber Inn. So my
It's
hometown
funny,
back.
it's funny because we in Right Before Your Eyes, it's a story about a gentleman struggling with his addiction, and there's a big bar scene and a couple of bar scenes. And then the movie with Kevin I did, my scenes were in a bar. I always seem to somehow find myself either people I know where bars are part of the story. And I think that's the good thing about sometimes independent film is they're taking real life. People really go to bars and hang out and shit goes down on them in them and stuff like that. So it's nice to see when you can bring in your hometown kind of haunts and be like, hey, remember me? I probably spent $20,000 in here on drinks, but do you mind if we shoot a film in it now?
I can't wait to do it again. I can't
Yeah.
wait to do it. I want to talk about when we had some time on set with Right Before Your Eyes. You and I were just having this genuine conversation, when I say I look up to you, it's because you are so grounded, and what happened to your life and the way it happened. I watched the documentary and I did my research, and that's another thing that we need to teach young actors is do your research. Yeah, I've had stars that are just becoming stars tell me it's weird to study somebody that you're working with, their work, and it's not weird. We're supposed to be watching the people that we're working with just by happenstance because we're supposed to be doing research. You taught me that. And not only is it a write off, but it's experiment, it's research, right?
Absolutely. You want to know what certain tendencies are. I kind of equate it to a sports team, a football team, watching film of the plays that the opponent you're going to face does, and you learn about tendencies, and you learn about ways that you can complement it, or if there's something that doesn't jive with you, ways you can try to avoid it or just flow with it. But everybody tackles their roles different ways, and they're just like in everyday life. There are people that'll rub you the wrong way, and you just got to deal with it. And then there are people that you just click in so many great ways, and that's when you can see that chemistry on screen. And if you can achieve that, that's the goal, is to achieve that this relationship is real on screen. You could believe that this is going on. I think that's what people achieve, like, go for. One example I'll put out there, myself and Rosario Dawson, for some reason, and me and Jeff Anderson for that matter, for some reason, we just have this really innate kind of chemistry that I think immediately can get picked up over on the screen. And I appreciate that. And I don't take any of it for granted either. So when you can find co-stars and other actors that you can get along with, you want to work with them again and again and again. Like I see Brian Anthony Wilson. That guy, I just got to work with him again this past week. One of the most hardworking, grinding, always getting something, always moving on. He's got a presence about him that we all know is this very unique, elegant, yet he could be a imposing kind of character. But that's a cat who has done the work, puts in the work.
Ethereal was the word I learned on Right Before Your Eyes, because he played the character. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to give the story away, but Right Before Your Eyes, if your audience hasn't seen it, Brian was a different human to me, and I worked with him before. He's a very good friend of mine. He deserves all the credit, not because he's so talented, not only because he's so talented, because he's kind. And I've been around a lot of people at this point that have names, and it's the most important thing when you've been on set with Kevin Costner, that you're kind to people. And Brian is just the most warm-hearted human, and he's huge. He doesn't have to be, but he innately just gets it, right? And every time I see him, I get this warm, fuzzy feeling. And I tell him I love him all the time, because we've lost friends. Like we lost Tony, and none of us are exempt. This is a career for blue collar people, really. If you think about it, it's hard work. And
it's something I was explaining to people again and again who were trying to understand what the Screen Actors Guild and the writer strikes that had happened, what was it really about, and trying to put it into terms that just everyday Americans and people could understand. It was a bit of a challenge, but in the end, it's like, listen, we're just trying to get a decent wage, that we're not, like certain Walmart workers that are on not only their Walmart salary, but are on public assistance as well, only because they're trying to do the thing that they want to do. And these are people who are hardworking. They're not people who are like, I just want to be a star and be an influencer. Like, no, these are people who actually put in the hours, learn scripts, build characters, that kind of a thing. And they're everyday people. And now, the industry is changing. We're still waiting for 2 more unions to get their contracts settled. And I think that's what the big studios are trying to wear them down so that they'll just accept anything at this point. But there's a lot of cuts going on. You said your agency had closed. There's a lot of cuts. There's a lot of less productions being made at the moment because they're all trying to see, well, how can we screw them out of more money now that they've asked for the actual numbers? So it's that kind of thing that the hold and wait to see where things are going. In the meantime, independent productions like this still are finding independent financing, still are being made. The great speech, I forget the gentleman who won the Oscar, who went on the stage this year at the Oscars and said, listen, $220 million, $230 million films are awesome. I enjoy them. But what if we took and made 23 $10 million movies? And I think the world would be even more enriched, and something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing it to the most simplest terms. And I'm watching the Oscars in my living room. I got up and I literally stood up and applauded, because I was like, absolutely,
Yeah.
that's what we needed more of. So, and we're doing the ones that we do in our local areas are like 2-3 million tops, which a lot of distributors, especially streamers, can make their money back relatively well, and then some, and be profitable about it. So those are the type of things I always enjoy about making independent films. So before we wrap up, I do a thing that is the speed round this is 20 questions. It's usually just one or the other choices, and I'm gonna have you participate. Is that cool with you?
Yes, sir.
All right.
You can still hear me clearly, right?
Better. So you took out your earpieces. I know that, and I hear you're hearing fine. You're doing really good.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So let me bring up the speed round. Here we go. Boom. Speed round questions. Let me get us to the music. Where are we doing here? There we go. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, you got a little quieter, but it's cool.
All right, here we go. Let me get this going. All right. All right. These are either or kind of questions. So here we go. Adam, Radcliffe, acting or producing?
Producing.
All right. Philadelphia or New York City?
Trick question.
Nope.
New York City.
There you go. Long flight or long drive?
Long drive, baby.
All right. Producing or directing?
Do I get one shot?
No, come on. It's just a simple hypothetical. Relax.
All right, so directing.
There you go. Every actor wants to be a director.
No, I don't. I want to produce, but I got to be with my wife. So it's like I got one shot to direct. You're giving me the.
Oh, wait until you get to the deeper questions. Pork roll or Taylor ham?
Pork roll.
Okay. Highway or side street?
Oh, the 101. Highway. Freeway.
Comedy or drama?
Drama.
Booth or table?
Booth, baby.
Eagles or Phillies?
Eagles.
Comfortable or uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable.
Good choice. Geno's or Pat's? I know there are better places. I'm just giving you the two that the tourists.
Geno's.
There you go. Buying or selling?
Selling.
Yeah. Streaming or in theaters?
Theaters.
Love or money?
Love.
Time on set or time with your family?
Oh man, time with my family, but the set
using
time
the
takes me to the
iPad.
beach. What's that?
I said they're not watching. You have the iPad in front of you. They're not even seeing this. So did you say time on set or time with your family?
I said time with my family, but the set time gives me beach vacations.
True. Emmy or Oscar?
Oscar.
Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Lucky or blessed?
Blessed.
All right, I ask every guest this question. What's your favorite curse word? Yes, I'm stealing it from the Actors Studio. What is your favorite curse word?
Ooh. Fucko.
Fucko. Listen here, fucko. And your biggest pet peeve. The show's called the O'HalloRANT. What is the biggest pet peeve you got?
Trendy sayings, as in gains, when you go to the gym.
All right.
Or I'm here for it. Everything that is trendy that sticks around for a few months, can't stand it.
Right on. Well, there you go, folks. That was the speed round with our good friend, Adam Ratcliffe. Give him a round of applause for that at home, whatever you want to do. But Adam, I got to tell you, I love chatting with you. I love more working with you, but I always love chatting with you. I always find it a really great conversation about the industry, about life, about so many different things. We didn't even get a chance for you to break out your guitar and sing us a couple of tunes, which if you want, you can follow him. Give us to where the people where they can follow you on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you need to go.
So it's Rat's Corner Pulpit. The publicist is running the Rat's Corner Pulpit, like multiple rats preaching in a pulpit, corner pulpit. And it's just AdamRatcliffe.net.
There you go. AdamRatcliffe.net. The new movie is Saint Michael of the City, coming out on Amazon Prime on April 5th. Get a chance, please go screen it. When I tell you that it's intense, if you definitely live in the New York City, Philly area, you're going to really enjoy it, but you don't have to. But you'll see landmarks. You'll be like, oh my God, I know that place. Oh my God, I know that place. And these guys crush it, like absolutely crush it. To be honest with you, if you go to IMDb and take a look at Adam's IMDb and see the work that he's done and follow the other movies that he's done and other TV shows, every time he's on screen, he knows what he's doing. He's taking control of that scene, and he's a phenomenal actor. Same thing with Kevin. Kevin is another phenomenal writer, producer, director, and actor. Super duper intense. That cat has been, but all these cats have been working, grinding for many, many years. And I appreciate the hell out of them. I appreciate the hell out of you, Adam. Was very fortunate enough to work with you on Right Before Your Eyes. If you're looking for a really great, uplifting, based on a true story, the writer, director, David Vincent Bob's, based on his true life happening about getting through addiction and recovery and being able to be with his son again, is just an amazing story. You can find all of these on Adam's IMDb, plus AdamRatcliffe.net is his website. It has his trailer on there. It's like 7 minutes long.
It's with a T.
Adam Ratcliffe.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. I said Radcliffe, like you're.
Yeah, Harry Potter is Radcliffe. I'm not Daniel. Adam.
Right. Here we go. So follow him. Go to his website. You'll see all of his work there. I want to thank Adam. I want to thank you so much, man, for taking the time out of your family life right now, but also out of your busy schedule for joining me tonight. Everybody go see the movie. It comes out April 5th. Put that on your queue on your Amazon Prime. Keep up to date with anything that Adam's doing. It's the best way to do it. And if you follow him, especially on Instagram, he gets up there and starts jamming live on his guitar. And he's an incredibly talented man. I'm very jealous of him, actually. But overall, thank you, Adam. I want to thank you for being on the show, man. And hopefully we'll have you back on, and hopefully we get to work together as well.
I can't wait. Thank you so
Thank
much. This is it. I'm pinching myself. This is too much. I feel exposed and I feel weird. And someday I just want to be just like you.
Oh, stop it. No, you're going to be you. That's the point and thing. Everybody out there, be yourselves. That's the point. There's already a me. You don't need another me. We need something like you. That's what we need. Thank you,
just
brother.
Very gracious. And someday, hey, listen, this is not the part that I was looking forward to. I just love being on set. But I understand the necessity of doing this part, And you do it so graciously, and I'm working on it.
Right on, brother. You'll get there. You'll get there. I know you will. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
So there you go, folks. I got to say, one of the most awesome people in the industry, one of the hardest working cats ever. He's constantly hitting me up for, hey, you should read for this, or hey, you should be a part of that. So I can't say enough how much it's awesome being around him. I know David Bob, who's in the chat here watching on YouTube, can't say enough good things about him either. Same thing with Kevin Interdonato. If you want to look him up as well and follow his films, if you want to see me and him interact, a sizemore called Bad Frank came out like 4 or 6 years ago. Another really intense kind of drama. That's the one that Tom Sizemore was a part of. Definitely check that out as well. And also all these films locally. And that's the thing, if you're doing independent film and you're one of the fans here watching tonight, or if you're wanting to be a part of it, do it. You know, there's no reason why you can't do it. So I gotta say, it's winding up for the top of the hour here, and I have some sad news. One of my biggest, like literally biggest fans who would watch every single time I came on to this show, Christopher Hewitt. I would always give a big shout out to Christopher Hewitt. He would always be hitting me up on my socials. I can't wait for the next show. When's the next show? This past Monday, unfortunately, his wife passed away. She was an unfortunate victim of an auto accident. She was on a bike, and the automobile hit her, and she unfortunately did not survive. I want to give a moment of condolence to Christopher Hewitt and his family and his wife's family. That's a horrible, horrible thing. I believe she was either 33 or 34. So if you see him on Facebook, I think he might have even commented. I believe he commented on my post for this very show on the O'HalloRANT page, the O'HalloRANT Facebook page, and said that he wasn't going to be able to because his wife had been killed. He then reached out to me in a DM to explain the circumstances. So hug your loved ones a little extra tonight, and please be careful. Take life as much as you can for every moment that you have, because you never know. Just like these, the unfortunate construction workers who are on the Francis Scott Key Bridge, just doing their nightly work, and unfortunately, 4 of them to 6 of them didn't survive that. So it was a hard week this week, but also a joyous week working on Chris Perdominico's film Delco, another independent film, SAG signatory. That's why we're able to have SAG actors in it. Wonderfully produced, wonderfully. They've been filming in fits and spurts over the past 3 or 4 years. 3 or 4 months. We actually were in the beginning of filming when they had to stop due to the strike. They chose to stop. They could have. They actually had a waiver to continue if they wanted to, but other people schedules were not available. We were able to then pick it up again. So when that film, I guess, has a first cut, or when they want to start promoting its release, we'll have Chris and cast members from that film, Delco the movie, on as well on a future show. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and sitting and watching this show. I appreciate you guys. I know I'm not as consistent as like the Kevin Smiths and other people with their podcasts. I try to get some really great people and get them on when I can. CJ Robles, thank you so much for joining us. David Bob, of course. You also helped with the Delco movie, so it was good seeing you as well this week. Lord Mooby, thank you so much. Joshua, thank you for coming out. Scott Wachowski, thank you so much for coming out and watching. Jimmy Beast, thank you for making it out. Zantomum, thank you for coming out as well and being a part of the audience. Ian Bonner, producer of Funny Enough of Right Before Your Eyes, thank you so much. Bob Odilgaff, good to see you as well. And thank you guys for having me in your house. Daniel Buckley, always. Mark Lamb, of course, always. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Hopefully, we'll have some more stuff coming up soon. I have a couple of other guests who want to be a part of the show as well. Until then, I want to thank you guys so much for coming out. I appreciate you guys for being a part of the show, for being interested in watching this. I've always had fun doing these things, and I always enjoy helping other artists, other filmmakers be a part of this. Things are coming up in this year politically and things that are going to be necessary. Make sure if you're getting a chance to tell your local congressperson or even your state senator about tax credits for film industry to get it back up and running. It's the way to do it. The money doesn't go to us, the actors. It goes back into the community as far as hotel rentals and vehicles and restaurants and lots of drinking in bars. So by all means, if you want to know where I'll be next, I'll be in April 20th. I'll be in Niagara Falls on the Canada side. Niagara Falls 420 Expo in Canada. That's on 420. I'll be up there for that. I also have a couple of shows coming up. Smoky Mountain Fan Fest. That's down in Tennessee. That's in August. Also in August, where else do I have? A couple of other shows. And then there's Chronicon in the Chicago area, right out near the airport in Rosemont, Illinois. That's in October. If you want, please check out all my links right there at the link tree, Brian C. O'HalloRANT at the link tree. And as you see the crawl below, if you want to follow along, please do. On Facebook, it's the O'HalloRANT. On YouTube, it's the O'HalloRANT. And on Twitch TV, it's Brian C. O'HalloRANT on the Twitch. I gotta tell you, thank you guys so much. I can't wait to do this again. I'll try to do more as the year goes on, obviously. But thank you. Have a great night. Be safe. Happy, if you celebrate it, happy Easter. Enjoy your Cadbury eggs or your chocolate bunnies or whatever you have, ham or turkey, whatever you're having for your Sunday Easter dinner. Today was a Good Friday, and today I thank everybody for being here. You guys have a good night.